She's faked it. She didn't tell you, and there's a good chance she's done it more than once. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to make sure that doesn't happen again. We're going live, baby.
No. We'll do it live.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host,
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer. He is a certified master life coach and NLP practitioner.
It's true. It's damn true. What's good, guys? It's hump day again. Perfect opportunity to talk about the segs. If you are new to the channel, my name is Paul Bauer. I help men level up and get better with women. And the funny thing about doing that is it tends to make us better men in all areas of our lives. Today's episode is built around one core idea. If you don't know what you're doing, she already knows it, and she's probably already told someone. That's not really a shot at you, brother. It's just how this works. So stick around because we're going to cover all of it and you'll walk away with something you can actually use. But before we get into it, quick joke for my brother Kamal. Why do some women fake orgasms? Because they think we care. Oh, anyway, that's what we're talking about today. Because we don't really want her faking it. Because the longer she's faking it, the more resentment she's building up because she's like, this guy's just not doing it for me. He's not ringing my bell. He's not diddling the skittle properly. And that could be problematic. Now, we'll get into it a little bit today. I've talked about it on the podcast before. A big problem with nice guy syndrome is they make pleasing her their sole priority in the bedroom, and it ends up being so much so that they put too much pressure on her and she starts faking it just to get you to stop, right? So that could be a problem too. So a lot of the times if you read books like No More Mr. Nice Guy, one of the things, or Dating Essentials for Men, one of the things that he talks about is how it's every adult's responsibility to make sure their needs are being met in the bedroom. Okay. So I want you to have that mentality. If you're the kind of guy who's like, if I'm not pleasing her, I'm not doing my job, and I'd rather her have an orgasm and I don't care about mine or anything like that, because you'll end up putting too much pressure on the girl and then she's going to be too much in her head. It's just not going to happen. So you don't want to do that either. So if that's you right now, don't worry about this stuff. Just take yours. Okay. Be a selfish lover for a while. Just throw her around. Do what you like. Don't even worry about if she's getting off or not. But once you get to a place where you can let go of whether she gets pleased or not, you don't care anymore. Now it's time to revisit this because what the core concept in my upcoming book, we're not at the 8-minute mark, but my upcoming book that I will talk about after the 8-minute mark, the whole idea is that if you're ringing her bell right, she's going to forget all your nonsense. Okay. A well-sexed woman who has lots of orgasms and the guy is the sole, cause of all those orgasms, he gets away with anything. Why do you think women always go back to the toxic guy? Because the toxic guy gave her the good D. Okay. That's why. So it does behoove you to learn this stuff. So let's talk about it. Fake orgasms are more common than you think. Most women have faked it at some point. And it's not because they don't do it because they're, for any malicious reason. They're actually doing it to spare your feelings, right? They do it to protect your ego and also to end the encounter. That's just not working for them. Okay. It's just not working. They'll be here forever and they don't want to do it. I put a joke on online because it actually came from Eric Everhart's presentation over Saturday. He was talking about if you can go 2 hours in the bedroom, but you're not ringing her bell, she's going to hate you. She's going to be really pissed at you that you're not getting it over with. And you think, oh, the longer I go, the better it is for her. But if you're not getting her there, you're just wasting everybody's time, you see. And so he said, you know, she's going to hate you if you do that. And then I put on social media, I said, well, if you are taking 2 hours and you're not ringing her bell, yeah, she's going to hate you for it. But if you can go 2 hours without busting, then her we're not the 8-minute mark, guys. Just send super chats, okay? Her pussy is trash, and at that point anyway. So whose fault is it? Okay, whose fault is it anyway? So it's pretty common. The brutal part is that plenty of guys are walking around believing that they're better in the bedroom than they are because women do this and they never say anything about it. Okay. But her friends know things about your performance that you never will, because women always tell their besties everything. And if you are not blowing her skirt up, she's telling her friends that. You know what else they do? They tell their friends when you are blowing their skirt up. And you know what? There is no better advertising than word of mouth advertising. Okay. If you can dick a girl down right, which is the name of the new book, right? Dick her down right. If you could dick a girl down right, she'll forget all your bullshit, but also the girls that you do this to are going to talk, and then other women are going to hear about it, and they're going to want to sample the goods themselves. Okay. That's just how women work. It's kind of funny. Women like guys who other women like, especially guys that are dicking them down right in the bedroom. So you want that kind of word of mouth advertising going on, don't you? But I want you guys all to know this. None of what we're going to talk about today is a personal attack on you. Okay. It's the default strategy women use when when the alternative feels too risky to bring up. And the thing is that women, there's a couple of things. Women don't want to tell you how to be a man, right? They don't want to. They also are worried that if they tell you you're not doing things right, you're not going to take it well, and it's going to cause a negative reaction. Because a lot of guys have no frame. They get defensive over everything. They get pissed off. They'll take it as a personal attack when she's really just trying to give you constructive criticism. You know what I mean? So if you could put your ego to the side and allow these women to say, no, this is what rings my bell. Do this thing, do the thing I like, right? If you can listen to that and take that constructive criticism, they're more likely to tell you what gets them off. But a lot of them are afraid that you're going to be too defensive. Your ego's going to get bruised. They don't want to hurt your feelings, all this kind of stuff. So they'd rather just fake it and let you get yours, and then they'll go and diddle their own bean later. You know what I mean? By the way, guys, do be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday without fail. So let's talk about involuntary versus performed orgasms. Okay. Now, here's the thing. It's one of those things where most guys don't know. Most guys can't tell. And that's what we're going to talk about today, right? Like, how do we know whether it's happening or not? And the reason why I even wanted to do this episode, one, because it's a perfect opportunity to talk about the new book, but also because, Eric Everhard, legendary corn star, retired, gave us a presentation in the Wolfpack on Saturday, and his numbers. Let me pull up the forward that he wrote for Dicker Downright. So the number that he gave the group, which is, you could track this online about how many sex scenes he's done over a 25-year period. He did 4,372 sex scenes with women, right? So he has a body count of over 4,000 just in the work that he did. So he brought that up. Here's the thing: when you're giving presentations to people, you're invited in. You're supposed to be the expert on something. You have to establish credibility, and that's what he does to establish credibility. Saying, "Hey, I have a body count of over 4,000." His that doesn't include his personal body count. So in the foreword that he wrote for Dicker Down Right, he's got the number up around 5,000. So subtract that from the professional scenes he did, and you actually have real world experience. But when you're in the lifestyle, I know Eric, I know Sterling Cooper. I've talked to these guys, right? When you're in that lifestyle, you're not just banging on camera. Like, these guys are all out doing orgies and stuff. A lot of them do escorting on the side. A lot of them have, girlfriends and, husbands and wives and all that kind of stuff. They're swingers. They do all this kind of stuff outside of the business. You know what I mean? So they have real world experience. But one of the things that came up was one of the brothers of Wolfpack was like, okay, like, I get it. Like, all this stuff sounds good, but I mean, his body count is professional girls and they're actresses. So aren't they all faking it? So how does he know? And whatever. And so I was like, well, let's talk about that, because I addressed it in my book. It's all stuff I actually learned from Eric. If you guys ever read his first book, Unleash Your Sexual Superpowers, it's a phenomenal book, which you can't get anymore. It's out of print, but if you had a copy of it, you could read it. He addresses it. Okay. So that's where I learned some of this stuff, because when I talk about this, it's going to make sense to you. It's going to make sense. Okay. So she could fake moaning, right? Like the thumbnail for the video is from, was it When Harry Met Sally or Sleepless in Seattle? One of those stupid movies where Meg Ryan is doing the famous orgasm scene in the cafe, and the old lady goes, I'll have what she's having, right? Like that. But she was showing Billy Crystal that she could fake an orgasm and that he'll never know, because they could fake moaning. She can fake leg shaking. She can fake eye rolls, arched backs, all of it. Okay. All of it. And a lot of the times, when you're looking at adult film, right, they're most of the time before the camera, if they're like focusing on the camera and they're looking at the camera and rolling their eyes and doing, they're acting, right? They're obviously acting. So obviously, yes, yes, they're faking it a lot. Okay. So women are capable of a completely convincing performance, and plenty of them deliver good ones. Like, some of them are just, they deserve Oscars for it. But what you're actually listening for isn't volume, like how loud they're moaning or whatever. It's change, right? A sound that seems to escape her without her trying to tell you something, right? She's like holding it in. She's trying, and she just can't, right? Some of that kind of stuff. A sound that sounds rhythmic and deliberate tells you almost nothing, right? It's almost like she's trying to do that. So you can almost listen to how they're breathing, and you could tell if it's like, if you're really paying attention, you could tell if it's physiological or if they're putting on a performance. If it's too good, right? If it's too perfect, they're probably faking it. Okay. They're probably faking it. So the shift from performative to involuntary is the signal, because you're looking for involuntary physiological responses. Okay. So when her sound stops sounding like she's contributing to the experience and starts sounding like she just can't help it, you're starting to get into the territory. Now, even like women can fake this too. Okay. Like, women are good at this. Okay. So breathing is a pretty good signal that you're probably not watching. So breathing is one of the hardest things to consistently fake, because it's partially controlled by the nervous system. Okay. Normal, natural breaths, she doesn't think about. She's not planning it. It's just how it is. So when she's genuinely building, her breathing gets faster, shallower, and more audible, and the pattern changes. Okay. Pattern's going to change a little bit. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be a smooth transition for things. There's going to be some things that are a little bit off. Okay. And when her breathing deepens significantly and then seems to hold or stagger, she's getting close. Okay. That's not acting at all. That's physiology. Okay. When it's actually happening, when she's actually getting ready to have an orgasm, she can't fake how she's going to breathe. Okay. But most guys are so focused on what their body is doing that they completely miss what her breathing is telling them. Okay. So pay attention to it the way pilots look at gauges and stuff on an airplane. You're going to want to notice all these things that we're going to talk about today. You're going to want to have an eye out for some of these things because what it's going to also help you do is navigate the experience for her. So a big part of dicking her down right is taking charge in the bedroom and leading the entire experience. Like, don't ask her what she wants to do. Don't ask her what position she wants to be in. Don't ask her for shit. You're the artist and she's the canvas and you're painting art. Okay. You're making art here. So, but in order to make a good sculpture or whatever, a good painting, you want to pay attention to what's going on in the moment and look for some of these signals. Okay. Now here's the one thing that they absolutely cannot fake. Okay. They cannot fake this. Their clitoris. Okay. Their clitoris and clitoral stimulation is the one thing that they can't fake. Okay. So clitoris that's been genuinely stimulated engorged with blood, and it gorges with blood and becomes firm. It's the same way an erection happens. Okay. Because when you get into biology, right? If you're like, when you're an embryo, when you're an embryo and you're slowly growing, like we all start out the same. We have the same bits and pieces. It's just that over time, because of different chromosomes, like one turns into a penis, one turns into a clitoris. Okay. But the end of the penis and the tip of the clitoris are the same. They're essentially the same. Okay. And that's why like some women have big ass clits. They look like little dicks. Okay. That's why, because they're physiologically, they're the same. Some of the spurgs are going to be grossed out for this. They go MGTOW and go black pill, and they'll be like, fuck that. That's gay. Having sex with women is gay because, anyway. Ugh, people. So it's the one thing, okay? You can physically feel whether it's responding or not if you're paying close enough attention. You could feel it with like the tips of your fingers, but even better, you could feel it with the tip of your tongue. Okay. The more you go down there and stimulate it, the harder it gets. Okay. Pay attention to that. I say it in the book, but Eric taught me like a lot of this kind of stuff. The book isn't just Eric's stuff though, right? Because I learned a lot of this stuff too. There's a book called The Sex God Method. There's another one called Between the Sheets. I sort of mixed everything I learned from these and have applied out in the dating circuit with Nurse Chick and stuff like that. Like all this stuff works. We put it all together. But Eric taught me that specifically you could read her clit like blind people read braille. Okay. That's how you want to look at it. Okay. Is it working or not? Okay. So this is why slowing down matters. When you're moving too fast, you lose the sensitivity required to feel what's actually happening. So slow down enough to be able to register what's under your tongue and you eliminate the guesswork. Okay. So what a lot of guys do too, especially when they're going downtown, is they just sort of lick all around. They do what they've seen in porn movies. They do all sorts of stuff. And they're just, like a dog drinking water, right? Just lapping it up in there. Don't do that. Okay. Don't do that. Because if you watch how women get off, okay, look at what they do with one of those Hitachi wand things. Okay. They don't rub it all around the area. They put it right on the clit and they just keep it there. They might do little baby, maybe like circular movements or whatever. They might like move it around themselves a little bit, but they keep that son of a bitch right there on the clit. Okay. So when you're going down on her, unless she's like too sensitive in that area, because some women do get sensitive, you have to like hit that area and then move off of it a little bit, but you still want to, most of your concentration needs to be on that area for her to get off. And if you're paying attention to what her clit's doing, if it's stimulated or not, you're going to know whether what you're doing is working or not. Okay. This whole video is getting demonetized, guys. So I'm just telling you right now, just please send super chats. So this is the real-time feedback that's impossible for her to manufacture. Everything else Everything else that we're going to talk about today can be faked to some extent. Okay. This is the one thing that she cannot fake. So if you are, let's say you are, you've moved away from oral sex and now you're having penetrative sex, right? You're having normal sex. If you're not in a position that where your pelvic bone is rubbing on that, okay, or if the head of your penis isn't hitting the G spot or the A spot, which a lot of guys don't even know about, right? A lot of guys aren't long enough to even hit that. But if you're not hitting those areas, a lot of times you're not really doing much for her. So if you're in a position where you're not exactly hitting those areas, if you reach down with like your thumb or something like that and just play with her clit, you can feel whether it's engorged or not. Okay. If you're paying attention, and if it's not, like, play with that thing until it's engorged, and then the whole experience gets better. Okay. So let me ask you guys, be honest with me based on everything that we just covered. Do you think you've been reading the signals right? Or are you starting to think you might have missed some things? Let me know either in the chat or down below if you're watching the replay. The only guys that are going to comment are the guys going, oh yeah, dude, I'm ringing that bell, bro. Like those are the only guys. The guys who are like, I think I might be missing something are not going to comment. Just drop an emoji if you're that guy. Okay. So here's another thing that it's not going to be faked up front, at least, right? But she can fake this by pre-lubing. You know, if she buys some lube and lubes up down there or whatever, she goes to the bathroom, lubes up down there, and then comes to bed. She can fake that. But typically wetness, her vagina getting wet and aroused is something that most women don't try to fake. Okay. But it's an early signal. It's not going to tell you whether she's going to, whether the orgasm is going to be real or not. Okay. It's just going to tell you whether she's at least initially aroused. So most guys, they treat lubrication like the green light that means she's ready for everything. But that's not necessarily what it means. It's an early arousal indicator that she's engaged, not that she's fully built up and ready to go. Okay. God, do I have it? I used to have, I think I might have it on the desktop. Let me see if I have it here. If I could find it. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, I have this. Right? How to turn on a guy, how to turn on a girl. Okay, this is what we're talking about here. You got to do all the things. You got to do all the things to get her turned on. Okay, so the lubrication's a good early indicator, but it's not necessarily like she's got everything built up and she's ready for it. Some women lubricate easily and early, regardless of how aroused they actually are. Others need significant arousal before it even appears. So relying on wetness alone will consistently mislead you. So use it as one data point among several. Okay. Like we have a whole console to launch this rocket. We've got we got to check wind speed, right? Is wind speed right? We got to do all this stuff. So just use it as one data point, not as a definitive sign. Okay. Not as a definitive sign that everything's working. Let me just remove this here. Muscle tension. Muscle tension tells you where she actually is. Okay. This is a good indicator. Like I said, we're looking for all sorts of indicators here. As arousal builds, tension increases throughout her entire body. Her legs tighten, her stomach contracts, her hands grip harder at the sheets, at you, at whatever's nearby. She starts throwing pillows at the dog and stuff. Shout out to Nurse Chick. Her hips start moving on their own. That involuntary hip movement is one of the most telling signals you can watch for because her body is making adjustments without her consciously directing them. Okay, so sometimes they'll shift into a position like they know that you're close, so they just need to move their body a little bit so that you're hitting the right thing. So watch for that. And if they move into that position, like let them get into the right position, right? Let them get where they know that they're going to get off. Okay. When her body starts doing things on its own, you're in productive territory. Okay. You're doing good. The difference between voluntary movement and involuntary movement is obvious once you know what to look for. Okay. She's not performing the hip tilt. Her body is doing it because it needs more. You understand? So watch for it. Like if it seems, basically, if it looks like she's acting, she's probably acting. Okay. A lot of this is if it looks too good, if it looks like she's putting on a performance. Have you ever seen a bad actor? A bad actor looks like they're trying to act. Okay. A bad actor looks like they're trying to act, but a really good one that can do this stuff without you even realizing it. Some of the top corn queens, right? Those chicks have gotten to a place where it looks natural. It looks natural. But for most chicks, the average chick out there, she can't fake some of these movements, some of these involuntary movements. Okay. Skin response. Now, this is an interesting one. Now, this one's, it's going to be more reliable on some women than others. Okay. Like a girl, let's say an Irish girl that flushes easily. Okay. Some of this stuff's going to be pretty obvious and she won't be able to fake some of that stuff. Darker skinned women, Latinas, black chicks, whatever, Indian chicks, whatever, some of this is going to be harder to tell because you're not going to be able to see the flushing. Okay. But genuine arousal often produces a flush across the chest, neck, and face. Okay. So white girls, you should be able to see this on. Okay. Her skin also becomes more sensitive as arousal builds. So light touches that barely register earlier start producing noticeably stronger reactions. So even if you can't see like physical flushing, sometimes when you just touch them in certain areas, they're more sensitive there, and you'll get a more of a involuntary response when you touch them there, not in a negative way, but in a good way because it's more sensitive. Okay. So you can use this deliberately. So trail a finger lightly across your skin at peak arousal and compare her response to how she reacted at the start of the encounter. The difference is going to tell you exactly where she is on the arousal curve. Okay. So if you're just starting out, you might do this as a baseline test. How is she responding? And then as you're going through all the cool stuff and all your cool moves and whatever, try it again to see how she's responding. Okay. You'll see if there's a difference there. This is science. Okay. We are, hold on. We are ringing bells. We are ringing bells over here. Where'd that go? I can't find it now. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Okay. We are using all the dials and the gauges to turn them on. Okay. By the way, I've laid out all the stuff and more, lots of techniques, all sorts of stuff that you've probably never even heard of so that you can properly dick your girl down right.
Have you ever had sex and honestly wondered, did she actually enjoy that, or was she just going along with it? Because chances are she's had better and she remembers it. What if I told you there's a way to make sure you're the one she can't stop thinking about? Most guys think good sex is about stamina or size. It's not. The men women are genuinely obsessed with aren't the biggest or the longest lasting. They're the ones who know exactly what they're doing. They're not fumbling around hoping something works. They walk in with a plan. They read her body. They control the whole experience from the first move to the last. And when it's over, she's not thinking about sleep. That's not some rare natural talent. That's a skill set, and it can be learned. Dick Her Down Right is the no-nonsense manual that breaks down exactly how women's bodies and minds work during sex, how to take charge of the experience like you actually know what you're doing, and how to become the man she's telling her friends about. Not the guy she had an okay time with, the guy she keeps coming back to. The guy she'd do almost anything to keep happy because what he does to her is in a category by itself. Every technique, every approach, every psychological principle is laid out straight. No theory, no filler, just the real information that makes the difference between average and unforgettable. Dick Her Down Right drops on Amazon and Audible this June. Any man who wants to be better in bed and have any woman he's with completely hooked on him needs this book. Get it in June.
Indeed. So we're doing all the things today, guys. Let me take a look at the chat here. Let me put this away. Let's remove that. Phil's in the house. He says, "Come on, man." And Urkin says, "Good day, folks. Finally made it live. First time." What? Oh, okay. I am not. I don't see. I don't see like what your actual name is here. So let me know what your name is in the chat there, brother. And then let's see. Urkin says, "Women are very creative when it comes to finding excuses to resent men." Yeah, they are. Happy Wednesday, gents. Good to see you, brother Dar from Dar Fitness. And Urkin says, "Why did he retire? It seems like a pleasant job." You know, I was watching Aaron Clary the other day. I was watching one of his streams, and he was talking about Sterling Cooper's another guy in the space. And Clary asked him one time, he said, "Do you ever, like, you've been with so many women, you've done so many scenes, does it ever just get tiresome? You're just like, oh God, I gotta bang this broad again." And Sterling's like, "Yeah, there's days I don't want to go to work." It's like I love Captain Crunch, right? Captain Crunch is probably my favorite sugary cereal. But if you eat too much of that shit, you're gonna have a cut up, roof of your mouth, because it's like eating fucking fiberglass. Anyway, Darfit says, "Fake O's are real. I used to fake them occasionally when I was 400 pounds with no cardio. It was that or pass out on top of her. I didn't know how to explain that or explain that to a first responder. She can't fake goosebumps on her skin." Yes, no, she can't, because that's physiological, right? That's physiological. And then Dale says, "Always good to learn, relearn more to optimize and improve skills in the bedroom. I'm here for it all." Yeah, it's good to have the policy of emptying your cup. Because if your cup is always full, you can never fill it anymore. It's just going to pour out, right? So occasionally you got to forget what you think dump it out and learn something new, right? Kamal says, "So you were saying just being Captain Jackhammer isn't enough?" No, I'm afraid not. Unless you got her at the right angle, which we'll talk about today. On a serious note, shorter breaths and tensed hands, I find, are a good indicator. Yeah, especially if there's like we were talking about before, if the breathing is too good, you can tell when it's like it's perfectly timed, like but if it's physiological, you can tell when it's a non-response or what is it? It's like a reactive response, right? It's not performed. Doc says, "I break the science. Have you ever earned your Red Wings?" Oh, come on, bro. Come on. And excellent tip says, "Greeting, Chief. How are you doing?" And he's following. This is all on Facebook. Good to see you, man. And then Doc the Butcher also says, "Well, this 61-year-old has training for a fight this weekend. I already know men my age can stand to me." Okay. Not sure what that means, but okay. Now here's something that one of the guys brought up with Eric, because he was talking about the concept of edging, really, which we're going to talk about. But he was talking about getting a woman like up almost there, and then pulling it away, doing something different, and then bringing her up there, and then that's edging. Okay. But oftentimes, what Eric says is that changing technique when something's working is one of the most common ways for guys to just kill the whole thing. Just kill the whole thing. Because if you do that too much, she's going to just be like, "God, he's never going to get me there. He's never going to get me there," and they'll just fake it so that you'll end things. Okay. So when something is clearly working, when her breathing changes, when her body is responding, the automatic male instinct is often to try something else because it feels repetitive, right? So the guy is doing what's working, and then he'll change it because it feels repetitive. Okay. So that if that's your instinct, that's probably killing things more than you imagine. Now there's times where I've been with a girl, and I'm hitting the right spot, and she's like, "Do it, keep it there, keep it there, keep it there." But if I keep it there, I'm gonna bust, and like it's gonna end the whole experience for everybody. and she's still not going to get there. So that's when I'll change things up a lot too, just so that, but what I'll try to do is if that's going good, is like sometimes I'll pull out and then go downtown so that we can keep that momentum going. And then I can slow down so that I don't accidentally ruin the whole experience for everybody. You see what I'm saying? Like there's ways to do it. But if it's working, it's working. You want to try to keep that momentum going as much as possible. So and what Eric was saying to the brother that brought it up with him was that he's like, he doesn't recommend what he calls going to the 1 yard line and then start dancing. He's like, I want to get to the end zone before I start dancing. Now, a lot of women, most women experience multiple orgasms. So doing that is actually, I think, a better move. Okay. Because once a woman gets to at least one orgasm, the experience can pretty much end at any time. And she's probably going to be okay with the whole experience. Okay. So if you're getting her there and you're getting her there, at least get her to that one. Okay. Then you can start doing all your fun edging stuff to get multiple orgasms so that she has multiple like crazy orgasms like that. I think that would be a good, mixing and matching of techniques. Okay. So the buildup to female orgasm is cumulative and fragile. When you break rhythm, even briefly, you can reset a significant portion of the progress you built. She goes from being close to starting over, and she might not even tell you that it happens. Okay. Now, if you're with a girl and you're doing this kind of stuff and she just doesn't have a poker face, you're going to know. You're going to know because she's going to go, oh, she's going to get there. Oh, it's right there. Right. Right. Some chicks just don't have a good poker face. So, but think about it from the other side. Okay. Put yourself in her shoes for a minute. You're almost there and she decides to switch techniques. You go from almost there to nowhere in like 3 seconds. That's exactly what you're doing when you change what's working. Okay. Now, granted, it's probably easier to get you back there. Okay. Some women, it takes a lot. Okay. I'm not going to keep bringing up that meme, right? But sometimes it takes a woman a lot to get to that point. Okay. There's some women, and then a lot of times when they can't get there, they start getting up in their head about it. Okay. The whole experience, you want to get her out of her head as much as possible, because the less in her head she is, the more she can feel the experience. Okay. I don't think I have notes on that kind of stuff too, but this is where like dirty talk comes in, because you want to be able to get her out of her head and into a fantasy, right? You want to get her into the moment. You want to bring her back to the moment. So this is where your own moaning, your own dirty talk and stuff like that is very helpful. So let's talk about why she won't tell you about this. Okay. Because I've been putting out long form articles the last couple of days. And I put one out yesterday that talked about just because you know what her anatomy, how her anatomy is, doesn't necessarily mean you know what you're doing. Okay. And of course, the first comment I got on Facebook was a guy who was extremely defensive. And he said, oh, so you're blaming the victim now? And then went off on a rant. And I just replied to him. I go, are you a victim? What do you mean you're a victim? And largely his argument was, if women aren't getting satisfied, they need to tell us. They need to articulate this. Okay. Most women won't, even though they'll bang on drums and say communication is the most, it's the key to a healthy relationship. Women suck at communication. They absolutely suck at it. They won't tell you that the sex is bad. Okay. Women aren't going to walk up and tell you the sex didn't work for them. Most of them won't. The conversation blows up his ego. It creates defensiveness. And suddenly she's the one managing your reaction instead of getting what she actually needs, which is her bell rung, right? She needs to get that skittle diddled and you're getting all defensive about it. Just like the guy in the comments yesterday on Facebook, he got really defensive when we said, hey man, you probably don't know that you're not ringing her bell. This is how you ring her bell. And they need to tell us this bullshit. Okay. This is why women don't tell you, because you can't handle it. Okay, he can't handle it. So what she does instead is she pulls back, becomes less enthusiastic. The sex that does happen gets shorter, less frequent, less engaged. You don't connect the dots, and she doesn't explain them. And by the time you realize something's wrong, the information has been sitting with her and her friends for a lot longer than you know. She's planning for a divorce. You're wondering why I can't get my wife to fuck me anymore. So you buy the get her to fuck you again. But it's like, dude, you haven't been ringing her bell. Okay. So the get her to fuck you again handles all your relationship problems. Okay. But dick her down right's going to handle your bedroom problems, because once you can start dicking her down right, the sex is going to be more frequent. She's going to want to come back. She's going to want to come back for that dopamine. You know what I mean? So if she's not doing that, and sex seems like a chore for her, okay, like you need to get out of your ego a little bit and go, man, have I been ringing her bell? Okay. One of the brothers of Wolfpack the other day, I'm not going to name names, but one of the brothers of Wolfpack the other day, he was talking about, he was really mad at his wife because, he was dicking her down, and he had her get into a position, and she just seemed like, oh God, right? Oh God, I don't want to get into this position. So he just quit. He's like, fuck this. I can't be with her if she's not enthusiastic about it. And so I said, hey man, maybe that position doesn't do it for her. And maybe you're not ringing her bell, and he's like, I don't know how that's possible. I've been laying that pipe. I've been doing all this stuff, and I go, well, have you tried giving her an orgasm? Tongue in cheek. I was trying to be kind of funny about it, but it's serious. It's a serious thing. Okay. If she's not enthusiastic with you in the bedroom, you might not be doing what she needs. Okay. And she just doesn't want to tell you because she doesn't want to hurt your feelings. Right. Okay. I'm telling you this now to be constructive so that you can go, okay, maybe I need to reevaluate my technique. Okay. Because if you keep doing the same thing that you've always done, you're going to keep getting the same thing you've always gotten. And if it's lackluster, she's not enthusiastic about it, you got to be real with yourself. Okay. Be honest with yourself. You're not going to get anywhere getting butthurt, having your ego butthurt. Okay. So now let's talk about guys getting up in their head a little bit. Let's talk about performance anxiety. The performance anxiety loop and how it runs. Okay. Performance anxiety almost comes from the same root. Now this, I don't know why I even have it in here because that doesn't matter. In fact, I'm just going to skip over this. Okay. Actually, hold on. Let's see. What do I have here? No, let's not talk about that. Let's, if you guys are getting value out of this, do consider sending a super chat. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Your ego. So we were just talking about ego. Let's move into that. This makes more sense. So the ego, it's not your friend in the bedroom. The ego needs the encounter to go a certain way so it can feel good about itself, right? You want to feel like you're laying the pipe right. You want to feel like you're a real man, right? So your ego needs this to go well for you. If she moans, it scores a point for your ego. If she doesn't respond the way it expected, it panics and adjusts. Not because you're reading her, right? Like we're talking about, being able to navigate like an airplane, like you're trying to land the airplane here. Okay. You're not reading it right. Your ego is protecting itself. Okay. So when you're genuinely focused on what's happening between you and her in real time, the ego doesn't, like, you're not in your ego. You're performing a task here. You're landing an airplane. Okay. You're launching a rocket. Most guys are narrating their own performance instead of actually being present in the experience. A lot of guys are in their head. A lot of guys are imagining the dirty porn they just got done watching, right? Instead of, banging the real woman that's in front of them, they're in their head. They're thinking about the Instagram model that they were jerking off to earlier, right? Get out of your head too and get in the moment and start watching what her body's doing. Okay. Be present in the moment as much as possible. The woman who can feel that you're not performing, that nothing is writing on how this goes is in a completely different experience than the woman who can sense she's being used to manage your self-esteem. And this is where I go, where it's problematic for nice guys who make the whole thing about getting her off to the point that it puts too much pressure on her. She can tell that's going on. Okay. So it's one of those nuanced things where you have to be present in the moment for both of your pleasure, because you're trying to paint a picture here. You're trying to make art with this. You do want to navigate it so that you are ringing her bell properly, but you want to do it in a way that it's a pleasurable experience for both of you. You want to be creating this pleasurable experience instead of creating pressure for her. Okay. That's going to take some practice and some self-evaluation. You're going to have to really, almost look at what you're doing from a third-party perspective and go, okay, is this really working? Okay. So here's the 2/3 rule that nobody talks about. The general principle that I talk about in Dick Her Down Right is that any sexual encounter should be at least 2/3 built up before you ever attempt to bring her to orgasm. So if you have an hour and 40 minutes, if you have an hour, 40 minutes of that should be building up her arousal before you push for the finish. Okay. Most guys flip this completely backwards. They spend minimal time on buildup and most of their time on the part that they care about. And they wonder why the results are underwhelming, right? This is why, the guys who are like, they joke that they're done in 3 minutes, like, we only have 5 minutes. Well, that's 4 more than I need, right? Like that's how most guys do it, right? They get in there, they get theirs, and they're done, and the girl nothing's happened. That's a vast majority of women, completely unsatisfied in the bedroom. The guy is a 2-pump chump. He's done, and he's ready to play Xbox, and she's like, what the fuck? What the fuck is this? And then she's got to go get a Hitachi wand, Now we're going to talk about edging. Edging is one of the most underused tools in the room. Okay. So this goes back to I think really what brother Wolfpack was trying to debate Eric on. But what edging is, right, is it bringing her close to orgasm and then deliberately backing off before she crosses the threshold. You reduce stimulation, you let her come back slightly, then you build her up again. And each time you do this, the next buildup is more intense than the one before. And this requires you to be confident enough in what you're doing to pull back when she's almost there. Okay. Now this is really easy to do when you've consistently got her to the finish line. You know what works for her. Okay. And a lot of women are different. One thing that works well on this chick might not work well on this chick. Or this chick over here, she's a sparkler, right? Those women are the best. The sparklers, they're like, everything works on them. They're great. But most of the women aren't like that. Most women, there's one thing that tends to get them off. This works on this chick, but not on this chick. You know what I mean? Okay. But once you can figure that out by reading all the dials and is this working? Okay, let's twist here. Right? Is all this working? Once you can figure out what that is, then this becomes easier. I wouldn't lead with this though, right? This is something that I would work up to. This is a lot of this kind of stuff they talk about in the Sex God method, right? The Sex God method, which I think you can still get it on Amazon, but I think it's an outrageous cost. I think the guy who wrote that book he's charging way too much for it. You know what I mean? But he talks about like edging and stuff like this. So this requires you to be confident enough in what you're doing. A guy who's anxious about the outcome rushes because he's afraid of losing the moment. A guy who slows down because he knows the delay makes what he's building more valuable. That's a different kind of guy. Okay. So by the third or fourth time you've brought her to the edge, the eventual release is dramatically more powerful than it would have been if you let her finish on that first one. Okay. But like I said before, it's better to get her to that finish line at least once before going and doing this kind of thing. Because if you're, for whatever reason, not able to pull this off, at least she's able to get orgasms and she'll feel like she got her needs met. Okay. But if you're doing all this stuff and like Eric called it, dancing on the 1 yard line, and instead of getting her to the end zone, then you're just waiting. Oh, so I just had a thing saying the connection lost. It's reconnecting. Did I lose you guys, or are you guys still there? So I've mentioned Eric Everhart a few times. He did give us a private pod class this last Saturday. It's still available in the Wolfpack. If you guys haven't joined the Wolfpack, join the Wolfpack now, 7-day free trial, and check it out. It's available in the Telegram chat. Bear Club? Not anymore.
Wolfpack, you fix what's broken. You lead like a man again. Too sweet. No pity, no therapy. Just fire, just flame. Cold bed, broken home, midlife drift, feeling alone. You don't need hacks, blogs, lies. You need men with fire in their eyes. We rebuild from the ground up. No excuses, no soft stuff. Telegram lit 24/7. Brothers locked in steel, not heaven. Step inside the pack. We don't fall, we attack. Truth, fire, presence, we bring it back. Masculine pride, no time to slack. Step inside the pack. Drop your past, claim your track. No therapy talk, no playing small. We sharpen blades, we take it all.
For the love of God, too sweet me. All right, what do we got here? Erkin says, what is going downtown? I'm talking about the oral segs, Erkin. I'm talking about eating her beaver. Okay, I'm talking about munching that box. That's Alex says, I found out when sometimes also just don't climax, it makes it easier for her also to be honest and not continue when it's just not working. Why are you not climaxing? Like for most guys, like if it's just not working, there's like different things going on, right? Like low T, you just can't stay hard. You have a blood flow problem. You maybe you drank too much alcohol and you got whiskey dick, but otherwise, like most guys are going to get theirs no matter what, so when it's not working for you, man, what's the problem there? Yeah. I wonder what do you think? I'm just, you don't have to answer. Just, I'm curious. Kamal says you're back now. Oh, so did I actually drop out? Did the stream just completely drop for a second there? That sucks. Fucking restream. Oh, did you guys miss a lot or was only just like a quick second? Let me know. All right, let's talk about putting a pillow under her hips. Okay. And why it's worth more than you would expect. Now, one of the reasons why women aren't getting that pleasure, a lot of women aren't getting they're not getting their bell rung from penetration sex alone. And a lot of it is because most guys are just doing in and out. They're just jackhammering in and out, and they're not hitting the right places. Okay. So really what's going to get her off is clitoral stimulation and G-spot stimulation for a vast majority of chicks. Okay. There's also, I talk about it in the book, A-spot stimulation. We won't get into that. Most of you guys aren't hitting that anyway. I'm just fucking around. But for the most of the part, it's going to be easier to just focus on what will land the plane. Okay. So G-spot stimulation and clitoral stimulation. If you look at the woman's physiology, okay, the clit is like a little dot, it's the man in the boat, the man at the top of the raft. Okay. The man at the top of the canoe. Okay. That's that, but it's a bigger thing. It comes all the way to the back. Okay. Of the back wall of the vagina there. And then it's got two things that come down along the side. Okay. So that whole area is meant to be stimulated, but if you're hitting it at the wrong angle, if you're not going to be rubbing on it. So you want to have pelvic contact. That's the best. So if you're doing missionary, right? If you're doing missionary, a lot of people are like, missionary is boring. And a lot of guys like to, be up during missionary, which can be good. But if you're going to do that, You want to be able to like push her legs back more, right? Put her feet back behind her head so that her hips are tilted up. Or, okay, if she's not that flexible, some of your wives aren't that flexible anymore. Okay, put a fucking pillow under her hip. Put a pillow under her hip so it raises her hips up enough so that when you are going in, you're hitting the G spot, which is sort of in and up. Okay, so a big problem that women aren't, they're, one of the reasons why they're not getting stimulated is because guys are going in and down and they're not hitting the right sensitive areas that will get her off. It's kind of like this, okay? In order to get you off, you have to have stimulation on the tip of your dick, okay? Because that's what's really going to get you off. But like women grabbing your ball, like cupping your balls and like rubbing the shaft and stuff like that. That might feel good, but it's not going to get you off. It's not going to get most guys off. You need that stimulation on the tip. Okay. Same thing with her. Okay. If you're essentially just cupping the balls, if you're not hitting those areas, so yeah, you might be jackhammering her and think you're doing it right. But if you're not hitting at the right angles, you're not going to be creating enough friction in the right spots to get her off. Okay. So a pillow under the hip is good for that. Grinding versus thrusting and why most guys only know one of them. Most guys just thrust. Okay. Just in and out. And if that's entirely their technique during penetration, right? It's not going to work for her. They find a rhythm that works for them, maintain it until they finish, and then they think they've done a good job. That approach optimizes entirely for your experience, does nothing for her. Okay, so grinding, right, which means just pressing your I keep saying pelvic bones, your pubic bone against hers and rocking rather than pulling back and thrusting creates pressure against the clit and the front wall simultaneously. This is why when women get on top, most of the time women aren't, riding up and down. They get on top of you and then they start grinding, right? Now, the grinding experience really does nothing for men, but it gets her off. Okay. So, and there's some women that's the only way they can get off with penetrative sex is if she gets on top and does a grinding motion. Okay. Now, what I found really helps with that is if you get her in that grinding position, and then you also put your hand just above her vagina there, right on the pubic bone there, to push more pressure down to keep her the top of her vagina up against your dick. Okay, like that, and then while she's grinding, does wonders. it does wonders. Okay. So the combination of depth, variation, angle management, and mixing and grinding is what really turns penetration for something that feels okay into something that builds towards a specific outcome for her. Okay. And let's talk about waves and spikes. So a wave is a sustained period of consistent building stimulation. A spike is a sudden, deliberate change in intensity, depth, or pace that jolts her nervous system out of adapting to the pattern. Okay. And the two cycle together throughout the encounter. A good way I talk about it in the book. This is something that it's a technique that Eric taught me that I talk about in the book. It's proprietary, Eric Everhard, which he gets full attribution in the book, but he calls it the cross T technique. Okay. The cross T technique, when you're going down on a girl, is where you are really focusing on her clit. You're coming at it up and down with your tongue, and you're feeling to make sure that it's stimulated, like we talked about earlier. Okay. But as you're getting her there, because sometimes that starts getting desensitized because you're doing it too much, you just, like, after say 5 strokes, you do a brief, quick sideways for just like 2 strokes, just to break that for a minute. And then you go back to the up and down. Okay. So that creates waves and spikes that bring her up there faster. Okay. So her body responds to that contrast. A spike is only powerful because the wave that preceded it set up the conditions for it. Going straight to high intensity without that wave buildup produces a much weaker response than the same intensity delivered as a spike after sustained buildup. Okay. So you could also use this with the edging too, right? Each cycle of wave and spike leaves her at a higher overall arousal level than the cycle before, because the spike pushes her nervous system to a new threshold and the subsequent wave builds from that new threshold. It's a staircase upward, right? It's not a straight linear line. Okay. By the way, guys, follow me on social media. The links are in the description. I'm on all the good platforms again. So let's talk about dominance during oral sex, because there's certain podcasts out there, usually with like Fresh and Fit, for instance, right, where they're like going down on a woman is beta, right? It's that's the most beta submissive thing you could do. No, it depends on how you do it. It depends on how you do it. Okay. So the way you position her, hold her hips, and respond when she starts to move communicates whether you're directing the experience or just participating in it. You want to be directing the experience. This is where it's not beta at all. You're doing it with a purpose. Okay. So going down on a woman, it's not submissive for a guy who approaches it with that kind of mentality, a guy who's making something happen. You're in control. You're making this, you're creating this experience. You're painting the canvas. When she grabs your head and tries to direct you, you take the information she's giving you and apply it on your terms. She wants more pleasure. You decide to give her more pleasure. The distinction is subtle, but she could feel it. She could feel it. Okay. You're managing her arousal. You're choosing when to give her more and when to pull back. The position you're in doesn't change. Who's in charge of the experience? Okay. So any alpha bro podcast that tells you, oh, that's beta, fuck that, dude. Okay. Who's she going to come back for? She's going to come back to the guy that could consistently ring her bell. And going down on her is one of the best tools in your toolbox for making sure her bell's rung. Eye contact during oral sex is one of the most overlooked moves. Okay. Periodically looking up and making direct eye contact while you're going down on her communicates several things at once. It tells her you're confident, you're not buried in your task, you're present, and you're enjoying it. Okay. And what I recommend, whether you're going down on her and you're making eye contact, or you're on top of her and making eye contact, use the left eye trick. Okay. I talk about the left eye trick all the time. When you're going on dates, the idea of the left eye trick is that it's the emotional eye. It's connected to the right side of the brain. That's the emotional center of the brain. It's also where inhibition lies. Okay. And if you look at a woman in her left eye, it builds rapport naturally. She'll feel super close to you, all that kind of stuff. And if you're thinking sexual thoughts, she could feel it. It's really, I often tell guys, don't take my word for it. Try it out. It's like magic. It's like hypnotizing women. Okay. Use the left eye trick. But when you're doing it during sex, right, it's a completely other level. Okay. Look her in the left eye, right, and tell her, I own this pussy. I own this pussy. Try it out. Try it out. Okay. The first orgasm isn't the destination. Most guys either stop entirely after she gets there or immediately move to the next thing. Both of those moves cut the experience short in a way that wastes the most productive window of the entire encounter. A woman who just had a well-executed orgasm is in a heightened state of arousal. Her nerve endings are activated. The biochemistry of orgasm has primed her system in a way that makes everything that follows more intense, not less. This is the moment to build on what you've created. And this is why we don't want to dance on the 1 yard line. We want to get her there. But then, because after that, everything is heightened, doing the edging stuff is going to really blow her mind. Okay. So mix and match some of this stuff. The long-term consequences nobody thinks about until it's too late. Sexual disappointment doesn't usually announce itself. It collects silently. She becomes less enthusiastic. The frequency drops. Affection pulls back in general, not just in the bedroom. You don't notice a single thing changing because each individual change is small. By the time you put it together, she's been sitting with it for months. She's not going to walk you through the timeline. She's going to be somewhere else mentally while you're still trying to figure out what happened, right? You're going to start reading, get her to fuck you again. You're like, why doesn't she want to fuck anymore? Okay. The guy who avoids this conversation entirely is the guy who figured out what he was doing before it became a problem. Okay. It's the direct result of taking this all seriously. It's a funny topic. We like to giggle about it, make jokes and stuff like that, but it's a serious thing. If you can dick her down right, you're going to have way less problems in your relationships. Okay. It's just, it's just a fact. It's a fact of life. There was when I was doing business coaching, one of my business coaches was telling me about a female dating coach or whatever for women. And she had a program where she was charging like $10,000 for women to go this program, and women were paying it. And I think he said it was called the well-fucked woman, right? Because imagine how a woman acts when she's well fucked, right? When she has enthusiastic, frequent, regular orgasms with the right guy. She'll break that guy out of jail. She will fucking do anything for this guy that could properly dick her down. Okay. So if your girl is just not that enthusiastic with you in the bedroom, that's where you need to start looking. Like, where can I improve in this area? Okay. That, and once you learn this stuff, it never goes away. It's something that, even if she leaves or whatever, great. The next women can experience all this. Okay. It's a skill set that every guy needs to learn. Okay. And most guys, they're not taught this, right? They don't teach you this at school. You have sex ed in what, 5th grade? They just teach you physiology. They don't teach you how to ring a girl's bell. Okay. Then you watch porn and like all the movements, on the positions in corn, they're there for the camera. Like one of the things that Eric and I have talked about, he talks about in his first book, is he's like, most of the positions they do in film are like, do nothing. They do nothing for women. He said the worst one is, what do you call it? Like he called it the pile driver, where she's on her shoulders and her hips are straight up in the air and he's like fucking downward. Like it looks cool on camera, but he's like, that's not your dick. Your dick is supposed to go upwards. It's not supposed to bend that way. It hurts. It's uncomfortable. It's a terrible fucking position, right? You got to go with positions that work. And sometimes positions that look cool don't work. Okay. There's only really about 4 positions where it will actually get the job done, where her bell's getting rung. And the thing is that they're usually the boringest positions, right? Missionary and her on top are like 2 of your best friends. Okay. Now you can experiment and do other things, but usually like, doggy style is pretty good, but you have to hit it at the right angle. You know what I mean? So it behooves you to learn all this stuff. I'm totally getting demonetized today. So, hey, at least I got 5,000 euros. That's amazing. Thank you very much. Just spell her the alphabet. Works 9 out of 10 from Q. It's the alphabet technique, I think is okay as long as you're staying on target, right? You want to do that on her clit. Don't be doing it all over her labias and shit like that, because it might feel good, but it's not going to get her to orgasm unless you're staying in the area. Okay. The best thing that every guy should learn how to or take from this is, how do women get themselves off with those Hitachi wands? They stick to the clit and they stay on target. They don't change up a bunch of shit. Okay. So if you're doing the alphabet, do it on target. Okay. Stay on target. Stay on target. All right, guys, that's all I got for this episode. Oh, let me give him this, because that was a super chat.
I was just going to say it. This guy fucks. Am I right?
Definitely fucks. You can tell because he knows the alphabet. He knows the alphabet technique. All right, guys, that's all I got for this episode. I hope you guys got value out of it. Tune into the podcast on Friday. I'm going to go over the 5 archetypes of James Bond and how to incorporate all of them into becoming the operator. It's going to be based off of Rafe Diantor's book that I listened to over the weekend. It should be a fun one to see which archetype you identify with and how you can incorporate all of them to become the best version of yourself. It's not available on Audible. It's only available in paperback, but he gave me a PDF copy, and I used a robot reader to listen to it. It's only about 2 hours long, though. And so we're going to break down, essentially the different bonds and what their archetypes teach us about ourselves as men. This is why it's Frame Friday, but it's going to be a fun one because we're talking about James Bond. All right, guys, that's all I got for this episode. Do be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications, and we will see you guys next time.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.